Welcome to this week's weigh-in podcast. And on this week, we talk about the big fight happening this Saturday. It is David Benavidez versus Morello. This is going to be something that we all want to see. So we're going to break down that card tonight and give you our picks. So let's start at the bottom of the card, basically the last fight up here on PBC, Premier Boxing Championship website. So it's Curello versus Christian Avelo. I kind of think the undefeated Argentinian Olympian has the chance, and that's Michael Curello. Michael Curello, I think, has got the chance to win that. I've seen him. He's an undefeated Argentinian. When I see his bouts and his fights, I think he's got what it takes to get the win here. So we're gonna move up. We've got Jesus Ramos versus Justin Ordia, uh, Rosadia or Rosadio. I'm sorry if I mispronounce any of these names, anything like that, but I think this is a real interesting fight because I don't say I got Ramos winning this fight. I got Rodia. I got Rodia winning. I don't think Ramos wins this fight. And I think that's an easy way to. A lot of people would say, well, I know Jesus, but Jesus is the rising. Ramos is the rising, you know, is the rising Mexican star here. But I think it's gonna be Rodilla. I think it's gonna be his opponent. I don't think Ramos wins this fight. I do think that this will more than likely go to judges' scorecard. I don't foresee a knockout in this fight, but I do see a judge's scorecard here with Rodilla. Now, if we go on up, we got Isaac Cruz. I've seen Cruz fight. We all know Cruz fought Tank Davis. There's never going to be a moment where I'm going to see Isaac Cruz losing. I think Isaac Cruz is going to win this fight. I think then when you look at Isaac Cruz and how he's very resilient, when you look at him, he's very resilient to the stuff he does. And a lot of the stuff that goes on with Isaac Cruz, he's very resilient. And that's what I like about Isaac. He's very resilient when he's in the ring. You see, when he was up against Tank Davis, if you have not seen that fight, well, I'll dial you in a little bit. That fight, when he fought Tank Davis, he was taking shot after shot after shot and did not get knocked out. So you look at that and you say he was able to take shot after shot, stand tall. And that's why, when it comes to Isaac Cruz, it's very rare will you ever see me go up against Isaac Cruz and say Isaac Cruz is not going to win a fight because he's got a very tough heart, great chin. Now, when we look at Brandon Figueroa versus Stephen Fulton Jr., the second. Now, this is a fight that I like. This is the co-main. So this is a belt down. So I think Brandon is a good fighter. But I think Stephen Fulton Jr. has looked really good. And to most news sources, when the last time they fought, it was a good fight. So you're bringing back a rematch, but I definitely think it could be Stephen Fulton Jr. to take the fight here. I could see Stephen Fulton Jr. taking the fight very well. I do. I see Fulton Jr. the second winning that fight. Now, when we get up here against that Benavidez versus David Morrell Jr., it's rare that you'll ever see me say, hey, David Benavidez is not going to win a fight, or Benavidez is not going to, do something in a sense. So for me, I kind of feel like David Benavidez is going to win this fight. I don't see David Morello, as I would say here on the way in, Battle of the Davids. They're both named David, but I don't see David Morello Jr. being able to stop David Benavidez. Benavidez is on a path of destruction because he wants to get the fight that us fans, me as a fan is looking for and us fans are looking for, and that is David Benavidez versus Saul Canelo Alvarez. And that is a fight that David Benavidez knows he wants, and he's lining himself up so he could have that fight, so he could take that fight, so he could do so much more to put himself towards earning that fight. And that's why I think David Benavidez is going to win this fight. With that being said, that is a good stacked card. When you look at that card, it is very stacked in the terms of the boxing and the terms of the talent on it. It is a very stacked card. I think it's going to be good. That is going to be on PBC pay-per-view through Amazon Prime Video. So with that being said, I think that's a good card. I think you have some good stuff. That is going to take place Saturday. And let me get you a start time. It says the start time is around 8 p.m. and 5 p.m. Pacific time. So it's 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, Nevada. That is what we're talking about. That Las Vegas, Nevada, T-Mobile Arena has had a lot of big fights, and it's been host of a lot of good stuff. And I definitely think this is yet another one to add to the resume of that arena. So with that being said, that is a fight that, I think this is another fight for David Benavidez to make his step towards getting that Canelo fight. We all know that's the fight he wants. He wants to fight Canelo. He wants to get into the point where he could have Canelo. There's a lot of things that are going. So now, here's what's also on February 1st. I got it for you. Israel Adesanya coming back for a UFC fight night. That'll start around 12 p.m. So now let's break down that Israel Adesanya card now that we know we got that going on. So you got Israel Adesanya versus Maganovoy, the Frenchman. And this is going to be really good. When you take a look at this card, I've got it pulled up here on the screen, and I'm taking a look at this card. It doesn't overly excite me for a card, but what I will say is having Israel Adesanya fight again is definitely interesting. I think he's going to be trying to make his way back to becoming a UFC world champ. Now, I think that's going to be interesting. That's good for him. He's got to continue to do the things he's got to do, because if he doesn't, I don't think he gets a UFC world title in his career again if he doesn't get his and take himself seriously here, everybody understands you can't always be the world's best. And in other news, you can't always be the world's best, and that is the best thing that you look at, for Israel Adesanya. You were once a paralysis of the UFC, a problem, the same as Conor McGregor. Now you look at yourself and you say you definitely fell far from the apple tree. Like, it has fallen. You got up there where you felt you couldn't be beat, but the problem is one who understands they're at top and they're unstoppable at top is the one who's going to lose. Really think about this, as we bring in this kind of, this mental aspect here. If you're on top and you still think you could be better, you can do better, like Tank Davis, he still thinks he can do better, be better. When guys say, I can beat you, okay, I'd like to see it happen. Go ahead. You can beat Tank, I'd like to see it happen. Go ahead, beat him. Let's see it happen first. That is the thing that we all look at here and we say, okay, this is something that is seriously taking a huge difference, in all aspects. Is because you look at how Israel Adesanya was once like this UFC great, top of the totem, had the belt, was guys couldn't stop him, went in there and did what he had to do. And then all of a sudden he fell off. He started, I almost think like you settle like, oh, I beat this guy before I can do it again. But you cannot train every fight, every event, every UFC fight night, every main event. Like, I beat this guy. Everybody gets better. If you face somebody 1 month and you box in 1 month, that doesn't mean in 6 months they're going to still be that same boxer you beat up. No, they're going to be a better boxer in that 6 months. They're going to get better the same way they do. Most people do. And I only say most people because some people don't from their 6. But if they learn and they lost once, that's where they're going to come back. They're not going to be the same. You can't expect, oh, I can beat him, or I beat him before. Doesn't matter if you beat him before. Take that out. Doesn't matter. Work towards saying, hey, I don't care what happened before. I don't care if the first match went to judges' scorecard. I don't care if it was a knockout. I don't care if it was a submission. Whatever that was is irrelevant when you're in that ring. Even if it's boxing, a knockout, a judge's stop. I mean, not a judge's stop, but a doctor stoppage. A referee saying it's over. You look at a referee stepping in. All the different ways you can finish a fight. With all being said, you look at that and you say to yourself, okay, That doesn't matter. When you get in there, whatever happened the last fight doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the media says. Doesn't matter what the narrative is. What matters is what you have to do. That is get your win, your belt, your stuff. Not, hey, the media says this is going to be a rematch of the ages. Last time it went to judges' scorecard and it went like that. Well, then you set yourself a new goal. You don't want to go to the judges' scorecard. You train hard. You set yourself up with those finishes. So you end the match early. You say you want it to go 3 rounds. You warm yourself up. You start to break him down. So after your 3 rounds, you've got what you needed to get. That's where we're getting at here, that there is a way to be doing this. There is a way that when you're in a fight, it's not about whether how and when you faced them last time. It's about, it doesn't matter last time. It's about this time. This time getting better. This time growing in that manifest where you want to be better than you were before. You want to be better to the point where when you go and do something, you finish. You finish in a different way. You finish like you haven't before. You show them why you're there. There's always going to be, I'm not saying Israel Adesanya is an underdog, because he is not. But what I'm saying is it'll always be that person that you get there and they say, why are you there? Why are you here? And a lot of times you don't got to tell them why you're there. You're going to show them. You beat that guy. That's why you're there. As Mike Tyson once said when Jake Paul fought Tommy Fury, he said, I don't think they're bringing him here to lose. Think about that. Think about that. When you show up somewhere and you're going up against somebody, they're not bringing you there to lose. They're bringing you there to take out their guy. A lot of times in boxing, when you look at somebody's bringing them on a promotion, they're saying, oh, I can beat him. They're scheduling themselves a tough fight. But you think for yourself, you got that opportunity because you're not bringing yourself there to lose. You're bringing yourself there to go tear up what's in front of you and show them who you are, what you are, and say, hey, if you already wasn't looking at me, well, you better start now because I'm coming. And that's the way you look at stuff. Don't matter last time if he beat you by 1 point or if, you got knocked out. It matters about this time. This time, what you have to do. What you doing this time right here, right now. Not what you're worried about you do before. It's what you come here at this event on February 1st and you do what you got to do. If you're Israel Adesanya, you got to do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do. And that is why we talk about, when I say Israel Adesanya, I say Israel Adesanya's got to figure out what he's got to do. Because you want that UFC world title again. You want to be a great. Not too many guys get to end up like Khabib. Khabib never lost, went out on the shield, had the belt. They couldn't stop him. Not everybody gets to be like that. But to be like that, you have to stay on top to the point where you know who can beat you and who can't. When Khabib fought Conor, he knew he could win that fight. It used to say the same thing. They wasn't bringing Khabib there to lose. He was going there to get that belt, to keep his belt, to have another belt. Every win is towards the belt. Every fight, it's all about whether you have a fight and it's not for a belt, it's about the belt. Because think about it. You really think about it. The rankings you get after you win a fight, you're going to go up the rank. You're trying to go up the rank to get that belt. Everything revolves around that belt. A lot of boxers right now might not be fighting towards that belt. But look at some of your boxers that got that belt. They making money and they got that belt. I look at boxing like this, man. You want to be undisputed. You guys, the fans, boxing is all about being undisputed. That's why I love to, the boxing game Undisputed. I don't think we've ever talked about it on the channel, but the boxing game Undisputed is a really great boxing game that has really developed itself very well. And this is not this is no, paid brand deal going on here. This is just, me just saying, like, if you want a best aspect of learning the true ins and outs of boxing, I think that's a game that if you don't know boxing, go ahead and get yourself Undisputed. Go ahead and play it. Do the career mode. You're going to learn real good boxing. It's not going to show you the great stuff and the promotion side of that boxing, but that's why you have us, the Weigh In Podcast, to give you that extensive knowledge. Now, to get you here going, boxing is a very, business where it's just like this, man. It's like, it's like this. In a fight, you're going to be doing a lot of things very well in certain ways. Like, hey, when you reach out to your opponent, they're going to have their stuff they want to do. That's why, they say there's always that failed negotiation between David Benavidez and Canelo. It comes back to Canelo wants a lot of money. Benavidez wants this. They want that. It's negotiation. At this point, there's always going to be negotiation. In every fight you have, you're always going to have that period where one guy wants more than another. It might be a little less you're a newly profound professional, but when you're a main event guy, it's a lot of that. It's like, hey, I want to make this much money. Well, do we think the fight's going to sell? Okay, we can pay you this much. It's a back and forth, but I think that when it comes to that back and forth, it's like if you don't, you have an end up Ryan Garcia situation where they say, hey, for Tank's fight, I was drained. I couldn't. They told me I had to do this and that, and how he couldn't properly, work things his way. How he can only lose so much, and there was a lot of things going on with that. And that's how you kind of say, okay, do you call that a failed negotiation? Do you call it, he wasn't as best because of certain things, or do you say no? He, did a good job. I kind of say, you look at that and you say, okay, if you're complaining about something that happened, well, I would say that's a failed negotiation there. You got the fight, you got paid, but now you're saying, okay, they added things. Well, you agreed to those things. And if you didn't want those things, the fight was going to happen. You got to look and set yourself up for success. Setting yourself up for success is what the Foremoster talks about. So one of the things we came across today is, doesn't matter what happened in the last meeting. Doesn't matter what happened in your last fight. And you set yourself up to win. You set yourself up. If they're adding stuff like, hey, you got to make weight this, lose this, that, and this is for main event people. But this kind of almost goes across with any sport where you have to make weight. This could go for boxing, MMA, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, all that stuff. Any sport where you got to make weight, you kind of you're in that negotiation period where they could say, they put in a hydration clause. Because that's what happened with Ryan Garcia. There was a hydration clause. But when you look at it, you say, okay, if you think you can agree with that and you do your best self, you work in your best self is one way you go about it. You got to operate as your best self. And I say operate because you are in control of yourself. It's not like a robot. Nobody can grab a controller and say, I'm going to be you. You are you. So at the end of the day, you got to do what you went there to do. If you went there to secure as in boxing, a lot of times to secure the bag, you went there to go there and get the purse, not a physical handbag, but like they're saying, that is like, for my viewers that might not know, that is the money you're supposed to make for the fight. So if you're in a fight and you get in a fight and you're supposed to make 30,000, they call that the purse. That's the purse. That's what you're going for. So when you go in there to do your thing, you got to do your thing. This is your fight. Don't matter if your opponent is part of the promotion. He's the promotion side, and he's got all his fans there, and they got a big corner backing up, and he walking out with 8-10 people behind him and got the rapper singing. That don't matter. The rapper ain't gonna box for him. The rapper ain't gonna help him win the fight. The only thing that's gonna help him is himself and his training. You can go ahead, that guy come out with the rapper and you knock him out. Then what happened? Rapper ain't help you. When you in your fight, it's your stuff. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if that guy's number 1 in the country, number 6, number 12. You training for a fight. You training for your next event. You training to write the chapters of your book, not his book. You writing your book. You're writing your chapters about how you're gonna put your history down. It's all about you. Like they say, I saw a quote once. They say some people will make history and some people will make money. Well, that's true. But some people would do both. Look at some of your biggest boxers like Canelo. Canelo made history. Undisputed. So you look at that and you say to yourself, well, he made money and he made history. You got to ask yourself how you want to write your pages, how you want to make your book look. It's about you. It's not about your opponent. It's not about them. It doesn't matter if this guy was, state championship wrestler, now joined MMA and has got the promotional belt. That doesn't matter. Because what he don't have is your heart and your talent, your backing. The underdog is always the strongest dog because that's the underestimated dog. That's the way I feel. That's the one that's always going to surprise you. Not always, but they're going to surprise you. Why? Because they're the ones that you don't expect it from them. You don't expect it. Like Isak Cruz going in there and fighting Tank Davis. He didn't get knocked out. He went in there and did his job. And that's what we talk about when we say the underdog. You might not always get the win, but if you put them on their toes and you fought better than they thought, well, you've already got them. Mentally, they're like, wow, how did this happen? They're looking at it like if this is a tune-up fight and they didn't tune you up, that means they underestimated you. You're the better guy. You're the better person there, and that's what you want to work towards. They say there's going to be a tune-up. What tune-up? You ain't no tune-up. You a dog. You going to get out there. You going to do what you got to do. When they put the food in front of you, you going to eat. You going to take out what you got to do. And I know we're on today's episode, we're kind of straying away from this, where we started, this David Morello, and jumped right into, this UFC, but into almost this motivational. You got to look at this, and I'm saying this with absolute tremendous truth about. It's not all about who, we were hearing this a lot during, some of this week's, NFC, AFC playoff games. It was always about the narrative. And, ESPN, Stephen A. Smith, it was Cam Newton on there said it best. Don't worry about what the news article is going to say. You got to do for you. You got to do your best. And that's what they were saying on the show, and that's one thing that I come back to. You got to do your best. And that's where I kind of brought today's conversation almost that way, Yeah, we started off talking about David Morello and that, but we kind of went into a little bit motivational about you got to do you. And I think that's almost something we can always talk about. And I'm not saying, in no way, shape, or form are we sports psychologists or any way, know anything extensively on this factor. But, we definitely will jot some points for you and definitely get some stuff that's considered motivational here. And I think, only reason why that UFC topic, it was so quick is because, I feel that boxing card was more stacked and there was more to kind of go across on that boxing card and really say about versus the UFC. But, here on the way in, we're going to bring you the topics, we're going to bring you the stuff, and we're going to help you, we're not professionals, but we're going to help you find you. We're going to help you, if you hear some stuff and think, well, they're right. That's a good thing. A lot of stuff we're going to say might not work for everybody, but for some people, it will help them. It will help you open up and see the different sides of what you're doing. And, that doesn't always mean it's just about sports where you make weight or anything like that. It's just like, in general, there are times where you could have great athlete peak performance, and that's one thing where you look at yourself and say, how are you being your best self? And this doesn't even have to go with sports. This is just in life in general. You want to always be your best self. And that's what was explained in between some of that AFC, NFC games. And I think, coming back to that is like, that's what I get at with bringing up Israel Adesanya. That's how we got into this is, Adesanya's got to be his best self. Don't worry about what happened in your past and all of that fights that you might have lost. It's not about that anymore. It's about you doing you, and you have to really say, hey, I've got to go in there and I've got to take this guy out so I can get another fight and another fight before I've gotten back to getting a belt. That's one of the things you look at. I want to get back to getting a belt. There are a lot of good things about, when you look at UFC boxing. And I think right now the strength of the cards have been better for boxing, I would say. And I haven't seen a lot of UFC. The year just got started off, but so far their scheduling doesn't look like it's, like amazing. I haven't seen a card where, I say, wow, that's gonna be a good night. That's stacked. I haven't seen a lot of that stacking up. But with that being said, it's just, boxing's in a game where these guys are trying to get after it, left and right. You're lining it up because it's both sports. Dana White once said, he does a lot of what the fans want to see. And a lot of that is true. You kind of go with what the fans want when you're a main event professional, unless you're Benavidez Canelo. We're going to go almost back to that because Benavidez Canelo, we should have seen that a long time ago. The question here is, why has that not been set up? I understand there's failed negotiations, but let's kind of get this done here. I think I really do want to see Benavidez Canelo, if they can finally get it done and get the matchup made. And I think that's one thing that, is very interesting about, when it comes to just our general topic today from where we started to like where we are now is like it's very well like the evolution I guess is what you take from today's episode. You evolve, and that's in one way say, hey, if I one month ago wasn't that good, you're going to evolve into a couple of months ago, it's not going to be the same thing. You're going to be better, bigger, stronger, even, you're going to be in a different way. And this goes in all aspects of life. This is something that, it doesn't matter all aspects. You can kind of look at this and say, hey, I'm going to be bigger, better, and stronger in every way I have to be, because this is what I have to do. Everybody's got goals in life. Here on the way, and I started out, my goal was for the new year was to get an episode out every week. That was my goal. Like, I sat there, I said, I want an episode out every week. Every week. I want to do an episode every week. Originally, my goal was to just get one episode out a week. And for me, I kind of surpassed that goal, and I sat down and said, hey, let me do 2 episodes a week. I can do this. And since then I've been filming every episode, and I kind of feel like that is something that I've been able to kind of get at. And even like for the channel, I understand like there are good things we're going in a direction where I understand that, Roman Atwood, one of my favorite YouTubers, says you have to take your time. Stuff is going to take time, but for me in the way in, it is going to take time, but I'm going to keep doing what I have to do. And that is goes without saying, the growth, the evolution. I'm evolving here. Last year we did not put up as many videos and as many stuff, but what I was able to do is build from that. And I guess in the next episode on Thursday, we'll very well dive into a little bit of wrestling, and then more than likely we will be able to dive in on a little more. Please do in the comment section if you want to know a little more on what thrives the way and what backs us. We'll always answer your questions. We'll always be, doing the things we do, because at the end of the day, we're trying to grow. We're trying to do a lot of things better. And I thank you guys as the viewers. A lot of times when I'll make a mistake, you guys comment right away when I make a mistake. And I love it because, at the end of the day, I'm growing, I'm learning, in this time where I have been filming like crazy, crazy, crazy. And I kind of feel like I'm growing in this sense where it's like, hey, I'm growing. And in that time that I've been growing, it's that thing where I've been growing. Right now we're at a seven episode streak when this goes up. So as you guys are watching this, that's 7 straight. And that's something that I'm really excited about, is being able to do something so well and go this new year and keep doing it and doing it. And I think, that's one thing that has thrived me to keep making videos for you guys, is talk about this 7 episode streak, like to talk about being in a streak of like, I just recorded again and again and again. I think it's something that for me just thrives in a way that I understand that we're going to get bigger, better as much as we do things. And I'm maximizing everything I do, you know, trying to get every story I can, looking at what's the best narrative to run, with this week's Benavidez fight, run Benavidez, keeping up with women's wrestling, men's wrestling, all levels of wrestling to get, as even our wrestling episodes, to get wrestling content down for most of the viewers that like wrestling, and just keeping a lot of my like content close to that combat sports. And I definitely think that's something that's like really like prominent for us, is that like we've been noticing that we have good stuff that comes from a lot of things. And I think that it's that level where I say, hey, I'm doing better, I'm doing bigger and better with the stuff I do, and I have to kind of get better. And that's where I say, you evolve. When you look at what we were last year versus this year, we look at we're being better, we're posting more videos, we're doing a lot of stuff that we have not done, that we didn't do last year. We weren't big on certain stuff, but we're like being better at our social media, being better at strategy, being better at posting, being better at doing a lot of things. And that's where we talk about, this thing for Israel Adesanya. We bring back to Benavidez, like Adesanya, we said he's got to forget about, the things that made him lose before, and he's got to come out as his best self. And that's one thing I'm saying about me is like, and this year I've brought out my best self by saying, hey, I got to get 2 episodes out a week. And I've been doing that. So, I've been on top of that. I've been doing it consistently and not, missing an upload and posting at 7 p.m., on Tuesdays and Thursdays and making sure that it's up at 7 p.m. and really sticking to that schedule where, I give you guys, the viewers, 7 p.m. videos dropping. That video's out, you know that it's going to be out, and you almost now know that the video's out when you see the Instagram post because they go up the same time. So it's like, okay, the video's out, this is stuff. So I definitely think, to stray off of this whole like, hey, this is, more a little into deep of the weigh-ins aspect. It's just like, this goes back to set your goals, get them done. I think for Israel Adesanya, set your goals. Your goals should be to literally get back to getting that UFC belt, get back to being a UFC champ. I do apologize to some viewers that would have liked it to have been more straight on with, the combat and this, but I bring into you guys, there's always goals, everybody says, well, oh, February 1st, they're quitting the New Year's resolution. We're not here on the way in. You get with us. We're going to do our resolution all the way through. We're going to continue to keep posting for you guys. And hopefully you guys on your New Year's resolution follow us. We're up to 7 episode streak when this posts. And with that being said, like, even if you guys, if you have a resolution to maybe go to the gym a couple days a week, along with us, we're at 7, catch up, get on your 7, and, let's ride this together. Let's do this together. This is in a year that we're going to grow, exponentially as our knowledge has grown and just sports in general and all that stuff. This is it, and as I say, we're going to be back to our regularly scheduled program next week. I'm going to try to, get in more depth on the topics and break stuff down even more for you guys, even more, as I learn and learn and learn, I'm going to break things down even more for you guys. But on this week's weigh-in 7 episode streak, thank you. If you've watched all the way to this point, that's great. I hope you liked it. This is the weigh-in. As I've been saying lately, weigh in out. See you on the next one.